It's late December and you feel a strange pressure in your chest, like the calendar is staring at you. You open your notes and suddenly everything you didn't do this year shows up at once. The project you delayed, the relationship you didn't repair, the habit you swore you'd start, the money thing you avoided, the health thing you postponed. You tell yourself you just need to close the year properly. And that sentence sounds responsible, almost noble, but inside it feels like a silent emergency. And then something confusing happens. Instead of becoming productive, you freeze, you scroll. You tidy random things, you plan a perfect reset, you watch videos about discipline. You promise you'll do a massive catch-up tomorrow. If you know this pattern, you're not lazy and you're not broken. You're getting pulled into a psychological illusion I'm going to call the Deadline Mirage. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to spot it in real time, understand why it creates panic instead of progress, and use a simple toolkit that turns end-of-year pressure into calm, actionable clarity. Here's the curiosity loop we'll close in a few minutes. The more you try to finish the year, the more your brain treats your life like a failing exam, and exams create fear, not growth. Let's name what's happening. The Deadline Mirage is the feeling that time is about to run out in a meaningful way, as if December 31st is not just a date, but a verdict. The mirage is subtle because it mixes two real things with one false conclusion. The real things are that time passes and that unfinished things can matter. The false conclusion is that you must resolve everything before the year ends or you are behind as a person. That's the mirage. It turns normal imperfection into existential urgency. And the reason it's so powerful in December is because your brain loves boundaries. Boundaries feel like control. They feel like clean lines in a messy life. But human lives do not respect clean lines. Your nervous system doesn't reset at midnight. Your relationships don't rewrite themselves because a number changes. Your habits don't update like software because a holiday arrived. Yet the season pressures you to believe they should. Why does this create freezing instead of action? Because urgency changes how your brain sees tasks. Under calm conditions, your brain can break a problem into steps. Under threat, your brain collapses complexity into one giant feeling: too much. When the year-end deadline feels like a verdict, your brain reacts as if you're in danger. And danger brains do not do elegant planning. Danger brains do avoidance, numbing, and short-term relief. That's why you suddenly crave scrolling, sugar, sleep, or just one more episode. Those aren't moral failures. They're nervous system strategies to reduce pressure. Another reason is that December invites comparison. Everyone is posting highlights, achievements, travel, closeness, gratitude. Even if you know it's curated, your brain still absorbs the implied message: other people are finishing, why aren't you? Comparison is gasoline for the Deadline Mirage because it makes the verdict feel public. And then there's a third layer: identity. A lot of us secretly treat the year as a story arc, and we want the ending to make sense. We want a lesson, we want closure, we want a clean narrative. I grew, I learned, I overcame. But real growth is not tidy. Sometimes the year ends mid-sentence. Sometimes you did your best and still lost something. Sometimes you survived, and that's the whole story. When you demand a perfect ending, you turn reflection into performance. Now let's use a metaphor that will make this easier to feel, not just understand. Imagine your life is a room with dozens of open tabs floating in the air like little windows. In December, the lights turn on very bright and suddenly you can see every open tab at once. Your brain panics and says, close them all right now, but you can't. So you do the next best thing for your nervous system. You close none and you escape the room. The goal of this video is to teach you a different move. Not close everything, but choose one tab with care and close it gently, because that builds trust and reduces noise. Now let's talk about the hidden cost if the Deadline Mirage runs your December. It doesn't just waste time, it teaches your brain a painful association. Reflection equals shame. So you avoid reviewing your life, which means you repeat patterns because you never calmly see them. It also makes your goals feel like punishments. If goals are punishments, you will rebel or collapse. And it damages self-respect because you start measuring yourself against an imagined standard of end-of-year completion that no one actually achieves. You might even carry the pressure into January, creating a cruel cycle. You start the year already exhausted and already behind, which makes the fresh start feel fake, which then makes you either overcommit or give up. If you've ever felt that, you know how heavy it is. The good news is that the solution is not try harder. The solution is to stop treating December like a courtroom and start treating it like a lab. We're going to build a small toolkit that helps you do exactly that. 4 tools, simple and deep, designed for real life. Tool 1 is called the Mirage Check. Its job is to separate real urgency from imagined verdict. Here's how you use it. When you feel that December pressure, you pause and ask 3 questions in one breath. Is there an actual deadline with consequences, or is this a symbolic deadline? What exactly would happen if I did this in January instead? What am I afraid it would say about me if I don't finish it now? That third question is the key, because the mirage is rarely about the task. It's about identity. Example, you think, I need to fix my finances before the year ends. Mirage check. Is there a real deadline, like a payment or legal issue, or is it symbolic? If you do it in January, what happens? Maybe nothing dramatic. Then the identity question. What are you afraid it says about you? Maybe the answer is, it says I'm irresponsible or I'm behind in life. And that's the real wound. Once you see that, you can stop fighting the task as if it's an enemy and start caring for the fear underneath. Micro experiment for today. The next time you feel that end-of-year urgency, do a mirage check out loud, even quietly in your head, and write the identity sentence down. If you want, share that identity sentence in the comments, because seeing each other's hidden sentences is one of the fastest ways to drop shame. Tool 2 is called the 3-pile review. Most people try to review the year like they're grading themselves. That's why it hurts. The 3-pile review turns it into a humane sorting process. You take one sheet of paper or one note, and you make 3 mental piles, not as headings on the page, but as categories you're holding in mind as you write. The first pile is kept, meaning what you want to carry forward because it worked, even if it was small. The second is learned, meaning what you now understand about yourself because of what happened, including mistakes. The third is released, meaning what you are done dragging into next year, a belief, a habit, a relationship dynamic, a self-image. Here's the rule that makes it powerful. Each pile gets only 3 items, not 30. 3. Because your brain needs clarity, not a biography. Example, kept might be, I walked more than last year, or I asked for help once, or I kept showing up to work during a hard season. Learned might be, when I'm tired, I promise too much, or I confuse urgency with importance, or I feel anxious when I don't have a plan. Released might be, I'm behind, or I must prove myself to deserve rest, or I have to be perfect to start. You can do this in 10 minutes. The point is to create a clean signal your brain can digest. Micro assignment. Do a 3-pile review tonight. Set a timer for 10 minutes and stop when the timer ends, even if it's incomplete. Incompleteness is part of health. Tool 3 is called the tiny closure ritual. Closure is not a feeling you wait for. It's a behavior you perform. Your brain loves rituals because rituals signal safety and transition. The tiny closure ritual is a 2-minute practice that tells your nervous system the year can end without a verdict. Here's the ritual. You choose one unfinished thing that hurts to look at, not the biggest, just one that represents the feeling. Then you say, this is unfinished and I can still respect myself. And you do one closing action that takes under 2 minutes. You might archive a file, write a single sentence about what you'll do next, send a short message, schedule one step, or simply label it. Paused, not failed. Example, you avoided a conversation. Tiny closure ritual. Write a draft message that says, hey, I've been thinking about our conversation and I want to revisit it when we both have space. You don't have to send it today. You just create the bridge. Or you avoided a health appointment. Ritual. Open your phone and locate the clinic number, save it, and write, call Monday 10 o'clock. That's it. Your brain gets the message. I move things forward without drama. Micro experiment. Pick one unfinished thing and do a 2-minute closure action before you go to sleep. Tool 4 is called the January ladder. This is the tool that prevents the rebound where you either set massive goals or set none because you're afraid. A ladder is different from a leap. A ladder has rungs. The January ladder is a simple structure, one value, one direction, one next rung. First, you pick a value you want next year to feel like, not look like. Examples, steadiness, clarity, courage, health, connection, simplicity. Then you pick a direction that matches it, something broad like move my body, create consistently, reduce friction, repair relationships, build financial calm. Then you pick one next rung that is embarrassingly doable, something you can do within 72 hours. Example, value is steadiness, direction is financial calm. Rung is spend 15 minutes listing recurring expenses. Or value is connection, direction is repair relationships. Rung is send one message to one person. I appreciate you and I've missed talking. Or value is health, direction is move my body. Rung is walk outside for 8 minutes after lunch. This latter matters because it reframes the year as a path instead of a performance. You're not trying to become a different person overnight. You're choosing a direction and building rungs. Micro assignment. Write your January ladder today and commit to the next rung within 72 hours. Now let's return to the metaphor of the room with open tabs. The Deadline Mirage tells you to close them all or you're failing. The toolkit teaches you to turn the lights down, pick one tab, and close it with care, because care is what builds trust. And trust is what creates sustainable change. This is where the self-compassion and responsibility balance matters. None of this is your fault. Your brain is responding to social pressure, time boundaries, comparison cues, and the nervous system's need for safety. But you also have power here. You can choose not to turn reflection into punishment. You can choose to stop outsourcing your dignity to a calendar. You can choose to treat your life like a living process instead of an exam. Let's make this more vivid with a real-life mini-scene. Imagine you're lying in bed on December 28th, scrolling, feeling guilty, thinking, I wasted the year, I need to fix everything. Your chest tightens, your mind races. Old pattern says, make a huge plan. Fix your whole life. You write 10 goals, you feel a brief high, and then you crash because it's impossible. New pattern says, mirage check. Is this real urgency or symbolic verdict? Identity sentence. If I don't finish, it means I'm behind. Then you respond like a wise friend, not a judge. Being behind is not an identity, it's a feeling. Then 3-pile review for 10 minutes to create clarity. Then tiny closure ritual on one tab. Then January ladder rung within 72 hours. Notice what changes. You didn't fix your whole life in one night, but you interrupted the cycle. You moved from panic to agency, and that is the actual transformation. Not becoming perfect, but becoming someone who can work with their mind. If you're listening and thinking, this is me, but I still feel the pressure, good. That means you're honest. Pressure doesn't vanish by insight alone. It fades by repeated experiences of safety. Every time you choose one rung instead of a leap, you teach your nervous system a new lesson. I can move forward without violence. Now let's close the deeper question that sits underneath the Deadline Mirage. Why does a year boundary feel like a verdict? Because humans are meaning-making creatures. We crave narrative. We want our suffering to add up to a conclusion. But life does not owe us neat endings. Philosophically, the demand for a clean ending is often a demand for control. And psychologically, control is what you reach for when you feel vulnerable. So the pressure to finish the year properly is often a disguised attempt to protect yourself from uncertainty. If I can end cleanly, maybe next year won't hurt. But the truth is more freeing. You don't need a clean ending to be okay. You need a kind relationship with yourself inside an unfinished story. That's what maturity looks like. Not closure as perfection, but closure as acceptance plus direction. Here's a simple integration protocol you can remember without effort. When December pressure spikes, do a mirage check and write the identity sentence. Then do a 3-pile review with only 3 items per pile. Then perform a tiny closure ritual on one tab. Then build a January ladder with one value, one direction, one next rung within 72 hours. That's it. If you do this, you'll notice something subtle but powerful. December stops feeling like a cliff and starts feeling like a doorway. Not a doorway into a perfect new self, but a doorway into continuity, where you can carry what matters, learn what you needed, and release what was never yours to carry. If this resonated, tell me in the comments which part of the Deadline Mirage gets you most: the panic, the comparison, the need for closure, or the shame, and what your next rung is, because naming it makes it real and doable. And if you want more tools like this, like the video, share it with someone who gets crushed by end-of-year pressure and subscribe to Mind Unlocked, because we're building a practical toolkit for better thinking, clearer communication, and deeper self-understanding. And the more you practice these tools, the less your life will feel like a verdict, and the more it will feel like a path you can walk, one calm rung at a time.